Thickeners in cosmetics. We're going to test some of the most common ones out there today, starting with xanthan gum. Xanthan gum is an extremely common and effective thickener used in foods and cosmetics. It falls under the natural category umbrella of ingredients. It's a natural polysaccharide gum created by the fermentation of sugar. The base formula we are going to be using for all of these samples is pretty simple. Across the board, we're going to be doing 94% water, 5% glycerin, and 1% thickener. This is to see how each thickener thickens at 1% in a gel serum-like formula, how well it works, and at the very end of the video, we're going to judge the skin feel of all of them and talk about which one I like the most. Maybe this will help you if you aren't sure which one to use for your own personal specific formula. Thickeners are used in serums, emulsions, every kind of formula you can think of. They are an important aspect of formulating, and it can be hard to decide which one you want to use, as some of them have disadvantages or cons, and some are maybe not an ingredient you're comfortable with. Now, some of these don't need to be dissolved in a humectant, but we'll go over which ones do. And then I'll definitely give my personal opinion on which ones I like the best and have the best skin feel and ease to work with wise. So xanthan gum will typically need to be dissolved in a glycol base like glycerin, propanediol, or propylene glycol. This is because it clumps and won't break down. I have always used the xanthan gum soft available from most cosmetic suppliers. There is a food kind which you can buy at the grocery store, but it doesn't work super well in cosmetics in my opinion. We're going to weigh all of this out and mix our xanthan with our glycerin in a separate bowl. As you can see, it starts to break down really well and mix together easily. And then we're going to add it to our water. And with xanthan, you can hand mix it without an immersion high shear mixer, which is actually really nice since most of the others do require a high shear mixer, or they require time to fully thicken, which is kind of an inconvenience, at least to me. That's one of the nice things about it. It will start to thicken immediately, and you can see the consistency is a thin, clear, smooth gel. The next one we're going to be trying out is hydroxyethycellulose, which is a non-ionic thickener that can be directly added to the water phase. It usually takes at least 25 minutes to fully thicken, and I have always struggled using this one because I found it just takes more of it to thicken compared to the other thickeners in this video. So with the challenge of waiting a half hour to see if it's thick enough to my preference, it just makes me not really want to use it too much. So it just takes some trial and error to see how much you will need for the formula you're using. This is recommended to use up to 3%. I originally started testing this out at 1% hydroxyethycellulose, and just for the purpose of this video, I added it also to the glycerin, even though you don't have to. So I had to let this sit for a bit, and we're going to come back to this one since we're going to have to wait. The next one we're going to try out is Sepimax, which is a pre-neutralized polymer that can make gels or be used to thicken emulsions. Similarly to the hydroxyethycellulose, you can add it directly to the water phase. You can either sprinkle it on the top and leave it overnight to hydrate and thicken, or you can use an immersion blender and agitate it and it will thicken more quickly. It clearly doesn't blend well with glycerin, so let's add it to the water phase and use an immersion blender. Be aware that the immersion blenders are always going to pump a bunch of bubbles into your formula. Yes, even when you tap them out. And I was not very careful with this one, but these do eventually work their way out over time. To avoid that, just let it thicken overnight. And you will see how thick this will get with just 1% Sepimax. I personally don't use this one too much, and that's just because I don't have the patience to wait for it to hydrate. But you will see how well this will thicken, and look at that texture. It's very velvety looking. The next one will be Sepinov EMT, which is considered a hydroswelling droplet. That is a cross polymer. which blends easily in a glycerin base, which is nice. With this one, you can also add it to the water phase and use a blender and it will not clump up. Sepinov can work as an emulsifier and will thicken up pretty quickly, unlike some of the other ones that take time. It makes very smooth gels, which makes this a versatile, popular choice. Let's go over the texture and skin feel of each one. Xanthan was fairly smooth, but it left a tacky feeling on the skin, which Xanthan is well known for. It also can make it difficult to layer other products on top of it, as it can pill on the skin. So it was my least favorite out of all of them. The hydroxyethycellulose actually felt really smooth and silky on my skin. It had no drag and nice texture. It left no residue. The Sepimax Zen had a very clumpy gel texture, which could probably be combated by using a smaller percentage, but it felt silky and smooth with no residue. The Sepinov was probably why it's my go-to for serums and emulsions, and Sepimax, which for gels or serums, it leaves kind of a sticky, tacky feeling. Okay, so going back to the hydroxyethycellulose, I ended up adding 1% more to the mixture and blended it for an even longer time period. And it finally did come together after sitting for about 30 minutes. And you can see that the thickness is comparable to the Xanthan. So I ended up needing twice as much to get the same thickness. And it actually ended up becoming even more thick over time, which this made it a challenge when working with this ingredient. It's kind of screaming at me to trust the process, which I totally didn't do, but lesson learned. I hope that helps you out. We are going to be putting out more videos with free formulas and more information. I love cosmetic chemistry and have been making products for the last 4 years. Bear with me as I'm still a newbie at YouTube and editing, but please subscribe and we will include links below to our website and where to buy these ingredients. We are going to be having formulas available for purchase on our website, and we specialize in tallow products, so there's going to be a lot of cool products or formulas with tallow in them. If you want to see more specific formulas, leave some comments below.